Today on What's Next.
And I was in a coma for 22 days. They told Leslie that he won't survive.
They don't know what they're doing, just as you don't know what you're doing. Make that okay.
They use their diagnosis as their identity, and that's tragic.
Welcome back to What's Next. I'm Mark Middleton, and today we're talking about resilience, which is the ability to bounce back from setback, the strength that we can only earn the hard way. We're talking about not only surviving, but actually thriving in the aftermath of the never-ending challenges of life. And I'm joined, per usual, by the GB Resilience Squad, a team of survivors and thrivers. We've got Amy Sweezy, Bill Schaefer, and Cecily Wilson. And Cess, I got to start with you. You've been knocked down a few times, but you don't just get back up, you come out swinging. What is your secret?
I am a resilience expert. I don't know how I do it. That's what I've coined myself, as the resilience expert. I believe that if you don't quit, you cannot be defeated. So if you just give up, then yeah, you've been defeated. But if you don't quit, you keep going and going and going, then you can't be defeated.
I love that. You know, sometimes you have to move the goalpost just a little bit, but you do keep moving forward. So let's get to Bounce Back Bill, a guy that you just can't keep down either. Bill, get us started. Tell us who Joey Erberline is, and why do you think we should know his story?
Yeah, Joey, like Cecily, is a big-time bounce backer. And I guess maybe Cecily would agree with this too. It's not so much what happens to you, but it's the way that you approach every single day since. That's what Joey did. He's a guy who could have been a big-time musician, could have been a star, and it was taken away in an instant. And some things don't matter anymore when you have to fight just to stay alive, but he learned that life is precious, that every day really is a gift, and that it is possible to make the best out of whatever happens. Are you in pain today?
Every day.
How do you deal with that?
It's there. It's just a part of it now.
Joey Erberline's seed in life has been behind those drums ever since he was a kid. Only now, what was once intuitive takes focus. He once toured with Steve Miller, played for Peggy Lee, Chuck Berry, and Diana Ross. But now it's a struggle to keep time. His fills aren't as clean. Just minutes leave him exhausted, but Erberline knows he's lucky to be alive after what happened to him on December 12th, 2018.
One of the things we did was every year we would start collecting toys and games and clothing, and we would find families in our community who needed help at Christmas. And I helped a father take things out to his car. And he turned around and gave me a big hug, and he said, "Thank you so much. You've made our Christmas, and God bless you." And I turned around, and I went across the street to go back to the Legion, and out of the blackness, I sensed something was there. And like Superman, I put my hand out to whatever it was. It was a car with no lights, and they were accelerating. And the driver hit me, flipped me into the windshield. I broke the windshield. That's the first time they knew I was there. They hit the brakes, and that threw me nearly a half block in the air, and I landed in the street. Long story short, I went into a coma, and I was in a coma for 22 days. They told Leslie that he won't survive. So Leslie started...
They actually told your wife?
He wouldn't survive.
But he did survive, only to have to learn to talk again, to write, and more.
I couldn't sit up in bed. I couldn't lift myself up. I could lay there and wait for a nurse to come back and change my diaper, rearrange my pillow. I was totally on every support system they had. I couldn't do anything for myself.
There were other injuries, too, that were just as devastating to him and his wife. Not physical, but financial.
While I'm fighting for my life, she's fighting for our life. She's boxing up our 4,000 square foot home, all of my drums, all of my musical equipment, all of our antiques, finding places for our pets, putting our house on the market because we're being told we're going to have about $2 million in medical bills. We lost just about everything. We sold vehicles, we sold our house, we sold our musical equipment, whatever it took to survive.
But instead of being bitter, depressed, Erberline was the opposite. He's grateful, hopeful, and compelled to make a difference for others.
So Joey, what has all this taught you?
I guess we all face hardships, and they're different for everybody. And it might be health care, it might be their family, it might be their marriages, their relationships, health. I have friends that are fighting cancer, friends that are fighting with heart problems with their limbs, with their everything you can imagine. The list, my prayer list gets longer and longer.
Instead of focusing on what he's lost, he appreciates what he has. A loving wife and that seat behind those drums.
But how could I be sad? How could I be unhappy? How could I not think that every day is the best day of my life? Every new day. I couldn't ask for more than I've been given.
What an attitude. Life is full of surprises. It happens to all of us, maybe not quite like it happened to Joey. And he's not the drummer that he was, but man, you can see the joy that he has sitting in that seat still to this day. And instead of hateful for what happened, he's grateful somehow for what he has. He's moving forward by letting go of some old dreams and adjusting to some new realities. So let's start with Cecily. Could you relate to what Joey's been through and how he's fought through this?
Completely. Again, I smiled throughout that story, just hearing his strength, his determination, and his outlook on life, even after all of that, just to be grateful. There's a frame that I have in my home that says, gratitude makes what you have enough. So whatever it is, however much it is, how little it is, it's enough to be grateful for every little thing. And it certainly changes your outlook on life.
And it really has to be a conscious decision too, it's so easy to focus on the negative because, like he said, we all face hardships. It might be health, it might be, finances, it might be your marriage. Everybody faces hardships, and it's so easy to concentrate on the negatives, but you have to not do that and make a decision, make a choice that I'm going to find the positives, I'm going to find what I have to be grateful for and focus on those.
Yeah, Bill, I think you nailed it when you said that, Joey's not the same drummer that he once was, but he still finds, the same joy in doing it. And I really think that's the key. It's about adapting and accommodating. We talk about that all the time, letting go of expectations that then can lead us to, even a deeper joy.
What you can say is, I don't know how to be in this stage of life either.
Welcome back to What's Next, and what's next for many of us is caregiving. Former First Lady Rosalynn Carter, who is a huge caregiving advocate, puts it this way, and I quote, there are 4 kinds of people in the world: those who are currently caregivers, those who have been caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers, which is why we've created our Art of Caregiving initiative, which features Amy O'Rourke, one of America's top caregiving experts. Amy says that every family, yours included, needs to have open, frank discussions about changing roles. Family caregiving can be obviously extremely difficult, but it's also a tremendous blessing if we learn how to communicate and collaborate.
The older adult knows that their kids are talking to them in the most annoying way. They're talking to them as if they were a child. And it's annoying. And so the worst thing you can do is react to them by yelling at them and screaming at them and saying, "Don't talk to me like that." What you can say is, "I don't know how to be in this stage of life either." I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I need help. You're my child. I don't want to be a burden to you, but I need help, and I don't know how to do it either. We all are in this together. It's a life stage that if you open it up to a more collaborative thing, you can show them, we never stop teaching our kids. You can teach them, all right, now that I'm in the fragile years, I want to open this conversation up with you, and I want to tell you what my fears are, what my worries are, what my needs are, how hard it is to ask for help, how scared I am that I'm going to run out of money before I die, and I don't want to leave that to you to fix. So be open and not blaming them because they don't know what they're doing, just as you don't know what you're doing. Make that okay.
Whether we are the adult child or the aging parent, we all need to have these conversations, and we have to put our wishes, our decisions in writing. Living wills and advance directives are legal instructions that reflect our wishes for medical care if we're ever unable to make those decisions on our own. And gang, I think this is one of those no-brainers. We all need to have these conversations, but so few of us do because we just don't know how to get them started. So what's been your experience? Amy, I know you're fortunate to have both of your parents still alive. Have you had any of these conversations with them?
We have a little bit. My parents are both in their 70s and they're doing great, but we know that it is something that's coming down the road, so it is conversations we've had. I think if you already have that kind of relationship with your parent, it's a whole lot easier. If you've talked about the tough topics and the tough subjects all along, this is just yet another one of those topics. But if you're from a family where you really didn't talk about important things, this might be even more difficult. So I think that's why it's so important to just make sure if you don't know how to get the conversation started, that you get some help from an expert or somebody who can, get you started with some of those questions to ask.
It is hard sometimes to approach it because I always feel like every time I bring it up, maybe I'm jinxing things. My mom is 95 now, and I hate that, every time we talk, it's all about, gee, you're 95, you're doing great, reminding her how it's unusual that she is. But I think once you do open the door to those conversations, what happens is instead of these superficial, hey, what did you do this week? How do you feel? The conversations you do have are deeper. They're better. You become closer in the long run. So yeah, I think even though we all hesitate to do it, if you toe up to the conversation, you'll find, I think, that on both sides are pretty anxious to talk.
Yeah, it's so hard to have that conversation, though. I know my mother has had that conversation with my sisters and I always shut it down. I'm like, Mom, let's not talk. You're fine. We're not going to talk about that right now. But I know how necessary it is. And I even know, as I'm getting older, that I need to have that conversation with my daughter. So again, so necessary, but also very difficult to have. But I love what you said, Bill. Just toe up to it, have that conversation, and get it all out on the table.
Yeah, the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. And I think this is the perfect example of why we need to have this conversation, of why we have this franchise, if you will, the art of caregiving, because it is a discussion that literally every family in America needs to consider.
Exercising not only is like medicine, exercise is medicine.
Welcome back to What's Next, and here are the cold, hard facts. 80 cents out of every healthcare dollar is now spent on preventable chronic illness, which really is the true epidemic of our time. In fact, the average 65-year-old now has 3 preventable, avoidable chronic illnesses, and the result is an explosion in the number of frail elderly, which is why we started our Fountain of Youth podcast to share the stories of active adults, ordinary men and women who avoid chronic illness because they make positive lifestyle choices each and every day. And when they do have health setbacks, which we all will have, they bounce back because they were in shape when it happened. So here are 3 examples that we've shared recently on the podcast. Dave Jarvis is a 74-year-old swimmer from the Villages. We met him in December at the Florida State Games, where he won 3 gold medals just 6 months after he had quadruple bypass heart surgery. Leah is a straight up badass. She's a Paralympic archer and coach, and after an abusive childhood, doctors diagnosed her 8 years ago with progressive MS, multiple sclerosis, which is a chronic and incurable disease, and they told her she should get her affairs in order and do it quickly. Well, since then, she's competed in the Rio Olympics, she's gone downhill skiing, she's taken flying lessons, she started her own nonprofit, and oh yeah, she won a gold medal at the World Archery Para Championships in Dubai this past February. Leah wants everybody to take their shot, and whatever their goals are, no matter what their life circumstances are, know that they can be successful. And at age 62, Andy Layton was diagnosed with Parkinson's. This is a guy who was a former tennis player, and he had to give up the game that he loved, but he decided to pick another one, pickleball. And now it's been 12 years since his diagnosis. Andy is 74 years old. How has he kept going? And the answer is pretty simple. He's kept mobile by deciding to and then working hard at it. And these are just three of the many resilient rock stars that we talk to each and every day. Life is going to happen, folks, and it's not always going to be good. It's up to us to prepare, and then it's up to us to respond. We can't let a diagnosis define us. So gang, what inspires you about any of these people? Dave, Leah, or Andy? Bill?
Oh my gosh, pretty much everything, Mark. I think what happens so many times, and you can't blame people, you do have that moment in the doctor's office where he does tell you something, or you have that incident or the diagnosis, and you think, here we go, the wheels are coming off. And you know, we encapsulated these guys' stories that we just heard. I'm sure they had moments where they're thinking, oh my goodness, this is it. But what comes out in the end is them saying, I'm still gonna live my life the way that I did. I'm still gonna push, I'm gonna do what I love, I'm going to be who I am, and you know, and hope for the best. And I do think it makes a difference. You know, these people are athletic, but they're not necessarily athletes all the time. The people that we talk about in the National Senior Games or doing all that, they're just people that are active. So we all need to be active to give ourselves the best chance to fight back when it does come around to us.
Yeah, the thing I love about all of these stories, all of them, is they're just ordinary people. And I listen to their stories and I think, okay, these are regular people. Oh, I'm a regular person. Look what they've overcome. Look what they're doing. Oh, maybe I could do that too. So it really does force me to look inward and say, if they can do this, what am I doing sitting on the couch watching TV?
Yeah, it's motivation, if anything. All three of them, their stories just motivate you to do something that you're probably, as you said, not an athlete, but they're athletic. Keep yourself moving, keep your mind going. If you're just active as much as they are, then it'll be better for us on the other side.
Welcome back to What's Next. It is time once again for your take, and I really hope that you're a member of our GB Tribe on Facebook. If you are, you've probably seen this recent question that we asked from our community manager, Jess. What is your best tip for aging well? At Silver Swagbox said, never miss the opportunity to dance. Cecily, I know that's you. Smiling makes all your downward wrinkles go away, according to Jeanette Mentor. Love that one. And Amy TC says, shed the weight of everyone's expectations and perspectives of you. So, GB guys, my friends, I open it up to you. Those are some good ones. Cecily, what have you got?
Get work done. No, I'm teasing.
No, what is your best tip for aging well?
Drink plenty of water and laugh, and I do seriously mean that. Plenty of water, because that water just rehydrates you. All of that is so healthy for you. And laugh like nobody's watching.
Hey, listen, I do want to mention that Growing Boulder page on Facebook. Folks, do check it out. There's great conversations just like the ones we're having now. It's a very inspiring place. All kinds of things going on there. But for me, it's one of the things I learned from Cecily. Show up. The temptation to say no, to stay home, to do something else becomes greater and greater all the time. Say yes. Get out there. Show up, and you'll be the better for it.
And you know, I think it's important to remember that it really isn't about defeating aging because, I mean, let's be honest, that's not possible. It's not about denying the reality of our mortality. It's not about pretending that we won't face some really difficult challenges as we age. But it is about maximizing the opportunity of age. It's about not mourning what's lost, but celebrating what remains. It's about not identifying with limitation, but embracing possibility. It's about never thinking that this is the beginning of the end, but rather, here it comes, folks. This is the beginning of what's next. We'll see you next time.